So I save this animation here, and so when I start playing and I enter this place, the animation will go whatever the hell we animated it to be. Hi guys, my name is Borodante, and welcome back to the game. Now this is just a show and tell video. I wanna share with you guys my little progress on the programming of the game part. I don't know if I look like someone who's been coding for 7 days, but that's what happened. It all started with preparing the game for actually animating John, and that's what we're going to be doing very soon. Hopefully, after I figure out some technical issues. Yeah, so far the animations are the old ones, but we do have the new look on the John. Like, I actually imported all of the meshes that we prepared with all the textures and everything. And yeah, the big theme of today's video, of my progress so far, is gonna be camera work. Because if I'm going to be animating the character and preparing cutscenes and special places where John will be doing something in those cutscenes, I need to take care of transitioning from gameplay into the cutscene. And one of the most important parts of that is making sure you can, switch cameras and work with them well. And I'm really into the way cutscenes work in, it's done that way in several games, third-person games, but one in particular I know of is God of War. It has this thing when your gameplay softly transitions from actual shoulder camera into like acting as a handheld camera, and the character starts moving around doing the actual cutscene. That gives this really awesome illusion of like, your camera that you're playing with is the camera that's also showing the dramatic scenes. Which is like, I don't know, I feel like it's a very important thing. You know, back in the day, in the old games, it was always very unpleasant, when you're playing something very lame looking and simple, and then there's cutscenes that are like awesome, but that's not what you're playing. So this trick of like using the in-game camera to then move it and, turn it into the cutscene dramatic experience seamlessly, I think it really enriches the whole thing. So that's what I've been working on, making sure I can manipulate cameras to move around any way I want. Well, it also includes cuts, so like this, for instance, is the big result that I just achieved today. Making sure there are no bugs and it actually does what I want it to do. What you're looking at is a camera that was animated using keyframes. So you saw that movement from top to bottom, while at the same time it's following the character, like it moves when John moves around, with a certain percentage, like not too much, but it's all done seamlessly. It could keep on animating, for instance. It's still technically animating, it's in the last frame of that animation, while at the same time it blends in the following John animation. And then if I leave this area, it just blends back into the shoulder cam. And you can do a lot of things like that. Like, I prepared these special like presets, actors, that I can put all over the level, and they consist of like a special trigger zone and a camera. And when John enters that zone, following certain settings that you can check on that actor, the shoulder camera will move where that preset camera is, with transitioning of all of the settings. Position and angle, field of view, depth of field, and the strength of that depth of field, like all of it transitions smoothly. And yeah, another big thing that you guys can't see, the big part of all of this was making sure the controller behaves properly. The controller is like the orientation of where John goes when I press forward, right? So that's what a controller is. So, for instance, in a game like this, like in Silent Hill kind of game where we have like third-person cameras, when we change points of view rapidly, there are a lot of rules that you need to follow. And I think I made sure I did it exactly it should be done. So, for instance, if I will walk to the right now, I keep holding the right button right now. And if I let go, that's when the controller resets and I can look forward. unless I would let go a lot later. Like for a second and a half, it waits for me to let go of the button I've been pressing. So when I let go, it resets the controller, and now pressing forward, John will actually walk forward as the camera can see it. And the same thing goes for when we detach the camera. So if I go here, I'm still pressing forward, and I can just keep walking forward unless I let go, and then it will reset. So that's an important part. There are a lot of little rules I make sure I follow, like if I press another button, then it resets and I start following the new orientation of the controller according to the angle of the camera. So all of that is taken care of. I've been testing it all day today. It seems like it's like working very comfortably. I don't notice it, it just acts the way it should. So that's really cool. And yeah, about blending in, like even the movement of the mouse, I haven't seen that usually in games like this when a third-person camera transitions into a fixed camera, that you can keep kind of moving the camera while it's fading away, like the ability to move the camera fades away. That's not what they usually do, but like right now if I move the camera like this and I enter this trigger zone, you can see like it was moving around, but then like less and less until it stops moving with the mouse because we're now in a fixed camera. So even that, the ability to move the camera around with a mouse also transitions smoothly. And if I get out and also it starts moving again like that. I think it's pretty cool. Another awesome thing is that like if we're in this zone, for instance, and I quickly run out, and it will start transition there, and now I actually entered another trigger zone with a camera that's tilted in here and like positioned in a special way. It smoothly transitioned halfway, not ever reaching the shoulder and going towards this camera. It's not super smooth, like it has certain like changes of direction. I tried to implement some momentum. It actually has a momentum. But yeah, it doesn't always work perfectly, especially when the cameras are moving. Like for instance, this Altar camera that goes from the top to the bottom, it's moving according to the cutscene, like the animation, but also it's following John, and the camera over there, it's also following John, if I remember correctly. Yeah, it's also following John. So when the cameras have some kind of movement to them, it's a bit harder to make sure I transition out of them more smoothly. But still, like, not glitchy or anything. I think it's pretty good for what it is. Yeah, another test I have right here. There are two zones, and I can transition smoothly between them when I enter one side or the other. Like there are two invisible boxes, and when I enter the right one, the camera softly transitions here. If I go to the left one, it softly transitions here. But if I leave both of the boxes, I quickly cut to the shoulder cam, which was another special thing I needed to take care of, that like you can enter and leave one of the boxes sharply, but if you transition from one box to the other, it will be smoothly. If you set it up this way, it can be all sharp. So yeah, you can see right here all of these boxes, the green stuff. These are like a camera plus a box. A camera plus a box. And so on, like all of them have this kind of preset, and when I select one of them, I can define a bunch of stuff right here. This is all like the big result of like over a week of my coding and debugging. It was a lot. There was so many things to take care of. Like I had no idea this system, to really make it work well, it's so complicated. It has so many little rules you need to make right. Not to mention that there's a lot of communication between a bunch of, you know, separate objects in the scene with the code of John, and it's like all sending messages back and forth. But anyway, in here, like, we can make the camera animated, we can blend in and blend out. Right now it's showing 0 here. But we can also blend from fixed. So if I'm going from one fixed camera to another, it will be blending in smoothly. But I can uncheck that and make sure everything's sharp then. And I can make it like not follow John. And I'll do like the same thing on this camera as well. And if I play that, and by the way, another important thing was to do, like if I start playing inside of one of the boxes, it needs to do all the right things. So right now, I'm inside of the box and everything's normal. I can leave the box, it's gonna sharply cut here, and I just can keep walking unless I let go and press forward again. It will start walking in this direction, like in the orientation of this camera. So everything cuts sharply now. So now I have these boxes that I can quickly put anywhere, position the camera, position the box, like adjust its shape or whatever, like I can make this wider or smaller. I can grab the camera and put it anywhere I want. And like there are like Unreal Engine is this big and complex, very rich in functions game engine, but it had some kind of like view blending thing, but it was very limited. Like the rest I needed to code like so many things. I'm not even using that blending of the view. I create a bunch of invisible cameras that transition back and forth, and there's a phantom camera that takes care of some momentum if I need to suddenly change the direction in the middle of the transition. Like there's a lot. But yeah, we can like, for instance, zoom in here. We can make any kind of settings of depth of field right here. So let's make it like very blurry and let's make it focus on like the bar. So yeah, these settings are something you can control and it will softly blend into that. I can also make a soft transition, like we can transition softly into this main altar cutscene camera as well. So let's blend into it for 2 seconds, for instance, and let's make it not follow John. So if we do all that, in here I enter and we softly transition, and you can see depth of field also blends in, and we can see the rest of that animation after the camera ended blending in. But yeah, right here now I enter this place and we can see John right there, and this kind of dramatic shot, for whatever reason we would have it. And there we go. Like, it's making things so much faster. I don't know how usually camera work is done in games, but I just thought, like, what do I need to make cool cutscenes and stuff like that, to make sure I can do a lot of it. I want to be able to make a lot of cutscenes, like, whenever it's needed, not necessarily taking control away from the player, but still having some kind of special moments where the camera does something to, you know, make things feel more special. I think it's really important to do all of this. Don't get me wrong, like everything you see right now, all these presets, all the, like the way the cameras are positioned right now, they're all crazy. That's just, I was testing stuff. Like for instance, at a certain point, if I made the camera follow John like this, for whatever reason, with time, it would stop being tilted and started like looking straight at John like this. And I needed it to be the way I positioned it. It needs to be tilted like this. So yeah, that was one of the things I needed to fight. And yeah, like we can enter and leave as much as we want. It will keep going back and forth, like zooming in and out, over and over again. And if you go too crazy about it, it will add some kind of momentum that may break the rotation a little bit, but like that's 3D rotations, can't do much about that. But yeah, about the cutscene, you can position a camera in a box. Pretty much the way I do it, right? I have this trigger box plus camera blueprint. I put it in and that's it. It's already gonna work. Like if I start playing, this little area will already do whatever this blueprint does by default. Like here I am. And it just works, and I can adjust all of those blends and everything right here. But you can also add like a little, it's called like a level sequence actor. What you do with it is like it's creating an animation timeline, and you can add any actors from the scene all over the place to it, and add some kind of keyframe animations to it. Like I have one keyframe here and one here, and that, if we move it around, we can see that's animating the camera there, because this is this camera transformation that we're animating. And so I can animate all kinds of stuff in here. I can technically like import the camera animation from something. I remember I have a cool little app on my iPad, if it still works, I don't know, but you can like just move the iPad around like a camera. And it keeps recording how iPad is moving in space. So then you have like a 3D scene file that you can import into Blender or Unreal Engine that will have like a camera object moving the way you were moving the iPad. So you get to have like a handheld camera movement animation. So that would be pretty cool to import for this kind of situation. So there would be like these keyframes captured from the iPad, and you can see the graph editor in here to control how exactly the curvature happens when we transition here. So I save this animation here and just gotta make sure my instance of this trigger box here has this cam animated checked, and then we choose this altar cam sequence, which is this little guy that we animated in. And so when I start playing and I enter this place, the animation will go whatever the hell we animated it to be. So this is what it's gonna do. And of course on top of that it can follow John and stuff like that. So yeah, this is my big progress here. Like these camera presets, I think I showed them before, but they were like super basic. You could just blend from one place to another, but it didn't have like depth of field transition or anything like that. Also, I updated the barrel distortion of the lens effect. If you guys can see it, like right now, the bars are like not straight, but are like curving around the lens. I really like this effect, if it's used tastefully, not too much. Because in video games, a lot of the times you want to have like a strong field of view, like a very wide angle. And if it's like completely straight, it will have these weird, as I call it, Quake 3 Arena look, where everything is super stretched on the edges of the screen. And barrel effect actually helps it look a bit more reasonable, actually. While it's kind of a distortion that any photo camera will try to avoid, it actually looks pretty good if the distortion, like the perspective distortion, is really strong. Adding some barrel effect, I think it's really cool. And, you know, it's just something that is being added to games. Like right now, you can see this barrel effect again. It's been added to games lately a lot to have this kind of new, fresh look to them. Like, kind of like a realistic look, but like, it's not that we see it a lot in real life, but it definitely doesn't look like an old school game. I like that about it, and the fact that it, you know, transforms the appearance of strong perspective into something more resembling a lens work. I really like that. There's actually the same kind of lens barrel distortion effect in PT, in the Silent Hills playable teaser. Then, of course, everyone was really excited about what that game was called. It's still not out yet. Unrecord? Something like that. At that body cam Unreal Engine 5 game. So they also take advantage of that barrel distortion effect to simulate a body cam look. But yeah, there's that. Also, what I added, a little shake, or actually a pretty strong shake at the moment. Maybe I'll keep it. I kind of like it. I don't see it as a problem. I actually like it a lot, so I'm definitely keeping it. A little shake of the camera when you run. Like if you move quickly, the camera is kind of like someone's holding it or something. But yeah, also if you like move the camera around quickly, it also kind of shakes a little bit. You don't even notice it, but it makes John not appear perfectly fixated in the axis of rotation of the camera, you know? It makes things a bit more natural looking thanks to that. Another cool thing, like the mechanics of the flashlight. It used to just shoot forward from the center of John, and now it's actually pointing where you are pointing the camera when you're focused. So if I press and hold the right mouse button, I'm focused. And I'm looking at things, and it's doing this depth of field thing that I made a while ago. And yeah, I can be focused on these bushes, I can be focused on the altar over there. But the big thing is that John will actually move the flashlight even when I change the focus point in depth. So for instance, right now I'm focused on the altar, and here I am focusing on the floor behind it, and the flashlight is actually moving around as I'm doing this, because it's actually lighting up the point that I'm focused on. So that's pretty cool. It's kind of a gamey mechanics. Your flashlight is not supposed to be intelligent and light exactly where you are, unless you're holding it in your hand, but John doesn't. But I think it's done in many games like this, so you would be able to see what you're looking at, you know, if it's really dark. So yeah, with a little bit of like a nice smooth trail, it's looking where John is looking. Another cool thing is that if you take out a gun and start pointing, instead of blocking all of the light with the arms of John, the light is actually snapped to the gun. So maybe all the guns will have like a light mounted to it, something like that, the way they do in games. It's a very gamey thing again, but you know, you really want to have it, because otherwise it's gonna be a mess to use a flashlight. So now I can, you know, use a flashlight, and it's just nice and snappy in all scenarios. It just works really cool. Should make a model for the flashlight one day. Don't you guys think? There's like nothing. It's like literally somewhere in the middle of the jacket. It should have like a clipped little flashlight kind of thing. I don't know, Silent Hill 2 style or something. But yeah, we have this smart flashlight now. I think it's pretty cool. One thing that's missing so far, actually, I used to not even plan having it, but when I'm in a fixed camera mode, I can't do battle at the moment. Like, I can't aim and shoot. It's all blocked because aiming happens only from the center of the screen, and in here it doesn't make sense when the camera is fixed. So I can't fight this neonate right now. I have to like leave this place, and I can shoot this guy now. Oh yeah. The mouthy trunk. Control shot? The mouthy trunk is right here. Also, like, I've been experimenting with placing cameras all over the place, setting up depth of field to make things appropriate. And like when you leave, it seems nice to transition out of it, but when you enter, in a lot of cases, it's cool to, you know, quickly cut to the shot. Maybe you cut in both cases, but whatever. It's all fun. It's now a lot of fun because everything is set up to be very easily adjusted. And Guts right here, he actually can't attack me here because he wandered away while no one was around into a place where there's no so-called nav mesh for him to navigate in. Nav mesh is like a special zone where AI characters can move in, and there's no nav mesh in this place, so he knows I'm here, but he can't walk towards me. If I get really close, he'll start trying to hit me, but I actually don't even have mechanics for him to turn around towards me, because it's never needed if Guts can move. But I'm just gonna take him out of his misery here. I really like the animation of the camera when you run around. Like, this shake adds a lot of like texture to the experience, something really cool about it. When it's super smooth, it's just almost standing in a way of feeling the dynamics and everything. Here's a quick adjustment of depth of field and the position and everything. Nice and clean. I actually like, there's a lot of movement right now in cameras. I actually prefer doing still cuts a lot. Hopefully I won't be tempted to constantly do transitions like this. But I know I needed to make them happen, especially if it will be like a very smooth, seamless transition into the cutscene. That's where it really needs to be done this way. But yeah, I actually adjusted a lot of the lighting. Like, the sky is a different thing right now, and there's like special soft lights for different areas. So I really paid a lot of attention to the lighting, even though it's very subtle. Like, for instance, John is actually always lit with a special light just for John. And it's like not realistic to have that, and he sometimes stands out from the environment, but I think there's a good reason to have that, because this guy you're looking at from the back is actually you. So even if it's really dark, like for instance in here, you still should know how you're doing. So in a third-person game, it's actually very common that the main character has special lighting on him, and it makes things look a lot better. He always has this cool rim lighting and the key light, so it looks nice, just like I am, kind of thing, with the lighting sandwich here. Sometimes it's too strong. I'll see if I'll be able to adjust the brightness of these special character lights according to the environment, make them a bit dimmer if I'm in a dark environment. But generally they could be just slightly less bright, and that would be just fine. So in here, mostly it would be just the natural lighting and a bit less of these special lights, but whatever. I think it works pretty well as it is right now. But yeah, an important thing, I think I read somewhere, like for instance, specifically 100% Resident Evil remakes have special lighting on their characters. It's like, it's not something I'm doing, it's actually what's done in many games a lot. Also, following the traditions of, third-person horror games, like classical ones, if you turned away from the character like this, or you're running away like this or something, and you want to quickly snap the camera towards where John is looking, you can actually click a scroll wheel, and it will, like, smoothly transition to look forward where John is looking, so it does it this way. It's kind of cool. With these very smooth fades in and out, it feels very cinematic. I don't know, I like it. And the same thing works with the controller. If I press in the right joystick, it will reorient the camera. So that's like totally like the classical games. I think even modern games do that. And pressing in the left joystick lets you run. And yeah, this is another special place with undulating spot on the ground. You guys can see I haven't done a lot of work on the level designs or anything. There's just a lot of coding right now. So far we can just enter this place with a quick cut to this camera, and we can leave it and the camera will follow us seamlessly like this. Oh, it feels even more active, the whole camera shake, when I'm actually using a controller. That's interesting. So yeah, I'm guessing this will be it on the progress. In terms of moving forward with animations, I was actually experimenting with that as well. Like, how do you, I was thinking, like, how do you transition into animation right from the in-game character? And I found a way to do it. It's called animation montages, and you can use special slot things to take control of the character with the animation. So right now I press a button and he starts making this animation. I didn't clean it up, so there's a lot of overlapping with the arms and everything, so it's just straight from the mocap suit. But here you can see John is just following the animation, but with that animation the camera is also following where his body is. So if he's walking forward, the actual character in the game is walking forward. So when the animation will stop, that's where we are at now. So we're in this place. It's called root motion, and it can be like extracted from the animation. It's a big difference. Like, if you don't do that, the animation would happen whatever, but the camera would stay in this one place and John would just wander off according to his animation, but he wouldn't take the whole coordinate system of the in-game character with him. But if you use root motion extraction, the camera actually, the whole character and his collisions and all the code follows John as he is walking around. And I can press the button again and I fade out of this animation at any point. So I can start it and I can stop it softly fading out. So just right there, it's all really cool to have that smoothly transitioning like this. And yeah, if I press another button, there will be a different animation, and now I can't move my mouse because this is actually a death animation, so you don't have any control over the character altogether, and then John dies. But of course it would work much better with an actual death animation. But yeah, all of this was a lot of fun. It was really cool to lost myself in programming. Like, all of these violet parts are the camera code here. with a lot of stuff going on all over the place here. And yeah, it was pretty cool to import the John's mesh. I actually adjusted some of his topology to have like better shoulders. There's a lot of like topology in here, so when he is resting his arms downwards, it's not like a sharp edge here. I'm adding it very carefully, like if I'm seeing somewhere like a very spiky edge, I would add an extra loop in there or something like that. Like this was a sharp edge in here on this hood, so I added some topology there, and so on. Like things look pretty cool. Added a little handles for these zippers here and in here as well on the boots. So yeah, the character is generally done. Of course, I'll probably add more stuff here and there. There will be probably something done with the back. Maybe, maybe not, I don't know. I already added some roughness texture action there. But yeah, this is it. Let me know what you guys think. Really happy with the result I achieved here, with all the smoothness and momentums and the ability to animate the cameras and move them everywhere. I think it's really cool. Lovely. Really hope the animation videos are coming really soon. Still figuring out that part a little bit, but it seems like it's close to be resolved. And yeah, thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you all in the next video. Bye! I wonder what's behind this gate. Oh, never mind. I'll be looking at this floor right here.